What's up, guys? One more Tech Bar here. We have another video today. Today we're going to be talking about how I quit smoking in less than 3 months. And that's going to be the title of this video, but I'm going to tell you right now, I got started on this journey probably about 5 years ago. And I'm going to tell you how I did it and how I got into fragrances during this journey. I was probably smoking ever since I was 18 years old. I got into smoking based on peer pressure and got addicted. As somebody with ADHD, it is factual the fact that ADHD people tend to be a lot more clinged on to addictions, whether if that's watching the websites, whether if that's drinking, whether if that's smoking, any type of addiction, ADHD people tend to be more vulnerable. And we know that based on studies. And it all started since I was 18, and it got worse ever since I graduated high school, and friends started walking away out of my life. And this is where my smoking addiction got worse. It started with mods. So like I would start using these low nicotine portable mods. And then I got into doing clouds, jellyfishes, all this other stuff. And I actually had a big rig, I know how to build coils, how to put the cotton through this and that. Probably one of the worst things ever. During this time, I learned how valuable friends are. Good friends. And I learned at this time how valuable my own life is. During this journey, I decided to stop smoking because of the fact that I realized that this wasn't the fix for me. I realized that I was feeling a void in my heart that God should be filling in. Somebody that was memorable, somebody that's valuable to fill in. And that was myself. And then not only that, building on my relationship with God, because I knew that I was separated from him with this addiction that I was craving so badly. I had a second generation Eclipse that I was fixing up for maybe close to a year now, and I was going to college at this point. I'm like 20 years old, and I'm going to college. I'm smoking and this and that, and I realized that it made me feel low. It made me feel less energetic. It made me feel negative. And it made me resent people, because I didn't know how to manage my anger and my stress. It made it very hard to focus in classes in college. And it made me miss people. I'm talking about like high school crushes and past lovers. And I had to say to myself at this point, my car wasn't working right. I had to sell the other car that I had. It was a 7th generation Celica that was burning coolant. And I was laying on a couch, and I'll remember this. I was laying on a futon full of bed bugs at my parents' house. And I said to myself, like, what am I doing at this point? Like, what goals am I trying to achieve? I'm literally done nothing besides lay around at my parents' house at 20 years old. And there's nothing motivating me or keeping me up afloat. And I was laying down on that futon, and I said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of living this lifestyle of constantly crying and whining about the stupid shit in my life. And I decided to say, okay, let's go for it. So at this point in my life, I'm going to college and I'm working at a certain location. It was a nursery home. And during this shift around 4 o'clock, I was dealing with a really, really bad boss at this point. Boss was super negative, thinking that he was motivating somebody, but in reality, he was demeaning. He was somebody that would put pressure on you, somebody that would expect better from you, type of thing. Not want you to do better, but expect you to do better. Just straight out of the gate wanting you to do better. I said, you know what? I had this little mod, and I threw it away in the trash, and I said, this is going to be the day. I stop. It's going to be wasting money. I was motivating myself. It's wasting money. It's just making me more stress. That's all it does. It's just a cover. It's just a Band-Aid. And ever since that point, I stopped smoking for maybe about 2 days. I was having cravings, and I decided to go to the Walgreens, and I said, give me nicotine gum. Nicotine gum is a good substitute. That's what I did. So I was hopping on nicotine gum maybe for about maybe 3 to 4 weeks. So maybe like a month, 3 weeks. And it was working really, really well for me. It was working really, really well. But I still had those cravings of the action of just smoking. So what I would do is I would have the nicotine gum, but when I have those cravings of the actual movement, I would act like I was having that movement without having the vape. As weird as that sounds, so I'd go like this. Something of that sort. Maybe like a lollipop. You grab a lollipop and do that. Motions is everything. Trying to think what else. During this time, I have that nicotine gum and I used regular gum to top myself off it. It's a cool trick because at this point, when you get on nicotine gum, you're addicted to chewing at this point. So I hopped off the nicotine gum and I went to regular gum. I just chewed the regular gum, and your mind's gonna have this facade that it's actually getting nicotine, but it's not. So I was just switching between regular gum, nicotine, regular nicotine, regular nicotine. And I was doing this for maybe about like a month to like 3 months, up until I got to a point where I said, you know what, I can deal with the world without having the need to smoke. And during this point, I've saved myself within the whole year $500 to $600. Just by looking at my previous pay stubs, just looking at my previous bank statements, I could tell that I was saving myself a lot of money. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get into fragrances. Because at this point in my life, I was like, you know what? I'm getting to an older age. I'm 21, 22-ish. And I'm thinking to myself, let me get myself something. Let me treat myself to something. I'll never forget this. I went to Moscow, something like that. You guys know the store if you're in Connecticut. And I got myself Hugo Boss Tonic. It was a very good fragrance that I got. My girlfriend really liked it, and I used that. That's when I got into Silver Mountain Water by Creed. And I was like, wow, these smell so great. And I just kept on going. And at this point, what I want to end the message with is you need to replace your habits with a new habit. And not meaning a habit that's going to be negatively affecting you, but a habit that is a good habit to replace it. For me, it was fragrance. At this point in my life, I was getting a lot older. I liked collecting stuff. I was already collecting Hot Wheels at this point. So I was like, I'm going to collect fragrances. I'm going to do that. It's not hurting anybody. My bills are paid. And I'm just doing this for the sake of having fun. And that's how it happened. And replacing it with the new hobby it's very powerful. It's very motivating. And when you hear other people's stories, it makes you think, I can get out of this too. So I wanted to upload this because I know you guys who are in a rut, who are trying to quit smoking, and now you just got to know my story. You have to replace with a good habit. For me at that time, I was doing 100 push-ups every day, I think. And not only that, I was drawing a lot too. I was drawing. And I was working on cars. I was getting experiences. So those are 3 things that I was working on to replace that bad habit. And anytime you get distracted, you get the headaches, you get the cravings, ignore those cravings. This is something that I'm learning because I'm facing another addiction now that's completely unrelated to the smoking and the fragrances, whatever it is. And I'm starting to realize now, like, it's replacing it with a good habit. To you, good habits might be starting a gaming channel. To you, it might be starting a competition. I don't know. You want to start drawing, put your full effort into drawing. If you want to start working on cars, put your full effort on working on cars. But always keep in mind that it's a journey, you know? And I think it hurts when we start thinking about it as it's a race, that we have to finish this as soon as possible. You have to realize that your life is up to your 80s. You know, some people might look out to their 90s and 95, but it's realizing 3 things that is powerful when you're quitting. Realize that there's a God that's going to keep you accountable and that is going to want to help you through this. Number 2 is realizing that it's a long race, but it doesn't mean you stop. I'm having the trouble in my life where I'm thinking that it's a marathon, you know, and it is a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's a marathon. You have to take your steps easy, but make a step. The issue I'm having is that I'm thinking it's a marathon, okay, but I'm not taking the steps forward. I'm taking a step and then I'm like, you know, I got burnt, you know, I'm going to stop, you know, and it's not that. It's the idea of taking that step and making sure that that step follows the next step and follows the next step. If you fall, get back up, move the next step. But it can't be left, fall, left, fall. You can't be doing that. There has to be some type of movement when you're trying to quit smoking or any addiction at that. And for me, quitting smoking was probably one of the best things in my life. I feel more energetic now. I'm more positive. I got out of the deep depression that I was in when I was smoking, because nobody tells you that you're just so deep in this negativity, this cloud of grief, and you have to quit smoking, because that's what that does, or any addiction at that. It's just covering stuff that you're going through in your life. It's just a band-aid. And number 3, when I quit smoking, I realized that I had to find other things to fulfill my soul, whether if that's God, whether if that's starting something new. You might be fulfilled by boxing, you might be fulfilled by kickboxing, it might be you want to be a rapper, you want to be a singer. That hole wants you to fill it with something. And for me, it was God. And for me, it was also starting a YouTube channel, expressing the way that I live and telling people those stories, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together and we're all trying. And that was my experience with how I went from smoking to collecting fragrances. I love you guys, and you already know, God loves you. Peace out.